Welcome back to another edition of the Night Report podcast. I'm your host, Mike Broadbent. Joining me once again are my co-host, Richie O'Leary and Alec Krauthamel. Guys, quite a few football news items to talk about today. We have 3 transfers out of the program, including one player that we'd been hearing was making a lot of progress in line to maybe start down the road. We'll get into that. Jett Elad is having a court hearing about his final year of eligibility, which Greg Schiano is speaking at today. We'll get into what's going on there. We'll get into everything that Vic Hall had to say at his presser, and a couple players were available as well. But before we get into any of that, this podcast is presented to you once again by BetOnline. BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for online sports betting. With the largest selection of odds on everything from college basketball to the NBA, MLB, NHL, and UFC, even the Kentucky Derby and NFL futures season betting are ready for you to bet. In between games, you can head over to the BetOnline casino and get in on all the top Vegas-style games, including poker and a live casino. BetOnline, the game starts here. All right, so 3 transfers out of the program. Offensive tackle Dominic Rivera, tight end Matthew Ogunni, and walk-on
Trent Brown,
defensive back. The Dominic Rivera transfer out really kind of surprised me because he was a guy that you'd been hearing behind the scenes was making some waves and showing good progress. Rich, what are you hearing went into the transfer of these 3 players?
Yeah, so I guess start with Dominic Rivera. It's kind of obvious, like when we ask questions about specific players in press conferences, it's like, okay, we're hearing some good things about him. And you saw the other day, and I don't know who it was. It might have been Fonseca, I think, who asked about Dominic Rivera to Pat Flaherty, and he kind of just shifted real quick and started talking about Nick Oliveri, which is fine because Nick Oliveri is making some moves too. He's one of the backup guards at the moment. But yeah, Dominic Rivera, I thought was a guy that he was playing backup left tackle technically last year in practice and in camps, and now he's not technically the backup left tackle because they would obviously just slide Taj White over, and he was kind of that swing tackle last year, and you saw that when guys were coming out for injuries or whatever. You saw him play guard at one point too. Like Taj White was just kind of the swing 6-man offensive lineman. But Dominic Rivera was making some moves. It's just the fact that it sounds like he wants to play, and it's already year 2. Well, it's going to be year 3 for him now. He really doesn't have a chance to start this year because it's Tyler Needham and Taj White who are taking over those tackle spots. Couldn't start last year with Holland Pierce. Couldn't start the year before that with Holland Pierce. So it's just it's tough for him. He wants to play. He wants to get on the field. He wants to see the field. And I think he's probably going to drop down a level. I'd be shocked if he ended up back at the Power 5 level or Power 4 level, I should say. But I think he'll drop down and he'll probably have a chance to compete for a starting job, and whether that be like a MAC level conference or like maybe go to the American and try to see if you can make some leeway there. But he's a massive dude. He's a mauler. I thought he was bending pretty well for a guy that's that size. But yeah, I think this kind of hurts a little bit, hurts your tackle depth. But I still think at the end of the day, they'll be fine because they still have Shedrick Rhodes, who's a veteran. Taj White is out there. He could slide to left if, God forbid, something happened to Needham. And then Tyler Needham, who's basically just assumed that left tackle spot and kind of just not giving it up at all.
Matthew Ogunni hasn't seen any playing time. He's a guy, for me, I have a soft spot for him because in College Football 25, he always somehow ends up being a total beast. By the time
I think everyone's said that
senior.
too.
Yeah. He's left the program. He was somebody who was not on that initial roster when those came out, so this shouldn't surprise. But what are you hearing happen with Matthew Ogunni?
It sounds like he just didn't. He didn't even see the field last year when they lost 5 tight ends, and his fellow classmate was seeing the field in Monte Keener from time to time, mind you. Not a ton of snaps to go around at tight end. There wasn't a lot of 12 personnel last year, and I guess early on you could argue there was, but then towards the end when everyone's hurt, there's just nothing you can really do. Hell, they had Tyler Needham playing tight end at one point.
After he had already gotten a season-ending injury.
Yeah, so it's crazy, but it didn't work out. Is what it is. He wasn't. I don't think he was on the even the bowl game roster because I remember looking for him and I don't remember seeing him. But yeah, it's just as simple as that. They brought in another tight end in Ben Rothard. They brought in Colin Weber. They still have Kenny Fletcher. They have Who else am I missing? I think Victor Konopka is still on the team, right? They have a lot of dudes. Monty Keener's still there. I'm missing one too. Who's the one from Blair Academy? Mike Higgins, who played some solid snaps last year. Like, there's just a lot of tight ends. There's really not a path to playing time. He's kind of more of a receiver coming out of high school too. So he needed to bulk up and add some weight, and it's just a matter of they need to cut roster spots at this point. You need to get down to 105 by fall. Now that's not officially official, but that's more than likely going to happen, and that's where you have to just kind of cut. I still think they still have to cut 19 guys. Like, it's not easy, and some of those are going to be walk-ons, some of those are going to be scholarship guys, and that's just you don't really need 9 tight ends, whatever it was.
Logan Blake is still around too, right?
Logan Blake too, Jesus, yeah, and he was playing last year, so.
And then he got hurt too.
Yep, so bad luck last year.
So let's talk about that roster management piece of this. I know that was something that in the April 7th filing by the federal judge, she had mentioned that being something that she wanted to further examine, but it seems like as of right now, that 105 limit will be in place for the start of this season, correct?
Yeah, so technically she told them to go back to the drawing board and think about potentially implementing I forget how the word in. I guess it was called a phase-in, where it's kind of like, all right, you can get 120 this year, you can get 110 the next year, blah blah blah, go down to 90 or go down to 105, slowly. Now that doesn't seem to be the case based on what Ross Dellinger of Yahoo posted. It sounds like the defendant, aka NCAA, I think specifically. I don't really know who defendant is in this case. College programs in general. Whoever's representing
the
them.
defendant would be the NCAA.
Yeah, so it is NCAA. They basically said, like, yeah, no, we're good. We'll explain why we're doing 105. We're good. We're not changing that. Like, everyone else is kind of screwed at this point. So that's where you're going to see. It's not official yet, but as soon as they approve this rev sharing deal and everything else, it's going to be official, like, almost immediately. And they're going to have to either cut them now, or you're going to have to cut them by fall camp. Now, I think they get the 105 by the end of this portal window. I'm going to say no, because it's 19 ships still, or 19 players specifically. Because I still think that guys are going to be like grad transfers that are going to enter in June and July, and you're apparently going to be able to have the ability to cut players too. So it sounds like they're literally just going to start saying, like, hey, dude, sorry, you got to go. Like, I need room. I need space for my safety or my cornerback or whatever. But just to clarify, it's 100 in total roster spots. Do you have to use all 105 for ships? No, but you can, and a lot of Power 4 programs are. It sounds like more Rutgers is going to go with like 94, 95 scholarships, and then the rest will be walk-ons. Or you can give them partial scholarships now, according to this new deal. So it's kind of everyone's going to probably get a ranking now, no matter what, which is kind of cool from that aspect in recruiting rankings. But there's going to be a lot of dudes out there that are like 2-star like guys that are just going to add, and it's technically it's a walk-on, but technically it's part of your recruiting class too. So it's kind of it's neat, but it's also like you're just cutting guys, and now these like lower levels are going to reap the benefits.
We'll get into some portal stuff in a minute, because I think it'll be interesting to see what Rutgers does in the portal, but let's finish up with a portal addition that is still trying to figure out his eligibility situation. And Jett Elad, Greg Schiano is speaking at a court hearing today, where I guess Jett Elad is stating his case to have that final year of eligibility. Kind of a surprise when Pete Thamel tweeted about it this morning that Greg Schiano will appear in court. I guess it helps that it's an off day for him. I guess there's never really an off day for the football program, but I just mean they're not practicing today. What are you hearing regarding the Jett Elad situation?
It's extremely tricky. So he technically left. Well, I think he started at Ohio in 2019, redshirted. 2020 didn't count. 2021, I believe he was still at Ohio and played in 9 games, so that counts as year 1. 2022 was it JUCO? Transferred from Ohio and played. Yeah. So 2022 was JUCO, which technically doesn't count, or supposedly it doesn't count. 2023 was year 2024 was year 3, and then this should be his 4th year of eligibility. It sounds very promising that he's going to get this case, because like everyone that's challenged NCAA so far about this JUCO thing has won like very easily. But there's something weird about how he left Ohio and went to JUCO, because I don't know what he really did at JUCO. I don't think did he even play at JUCO. I don't remember, to be honest. But there's just some weird like thing where he left like early on in the year or mid-year or something like that to join the JUCO and really didn't play, or he played like a couple games there. So that's some eligibility thing. I think he'll be fine. It sounds like he's going to be fine. And I actually think he might, and kind of a hot take, I think he might be one of your better transfers, or one of maybe your best defensive transfer. Maybe that's
no, he's not going to be better than Weaver and O'Neal.
Yeah,
but he's going to be good. I agree.
I think he'll be third.
Yeah,
he's really good, man.
And Schiano is so meticulous about this stuff that I don't think he would take a guy like Jett Elad unless he felt very confident that he was actually going to play. And I say that knowing the Nassim Brantley situation, but I feel like that was more Western Illinois screwing over the kid than Greg Schiano doing something wrong.
Yeah,
Sorry, Alec.
According to his UNLV player page, he did play 1 year at Garden City in Kansas. It says he played in 10 games and totaled 31 tackles. So he did play for them. So I guess it was just a matter of his like classification or something like that.
So the rule limits athletes to 4 seasons of eligibility within 5 years, including time spent at JUCO. Elad claims this rule unfairly punishes players who have taken alternative routes to the NCAA, like attending JUCO, and denies them NIL opportunities. So the interesting thing here is like the reported number that's been thrown around this court case, like on legal documents, about 5 or 6 different times. It's 500,000, which is pretty solid. I mean, it's good payment for Rutgers. Throw out money like that. I mean, I think a certain other program would love to have that.
We'll get into that tonight during our Twitter space that we're going to have for the Rutgers basketball program. I know a few people have reached out and asked if we could do it, since Denny Breslauer has recently retired from doing the Twitter spaces. So we're going to have one of those at 8 p.m. tonight. You can go to the Rutgers Rivals Twitter page and set a reminder for that if you'd like. We're going to retweet that out later today as well. But for anyone who'd like to come on and talk some Rutgers hoops, talk about the offseason, talk about the 2025-2026 team and schedule, or anything you want to talk about hoops, we're going to talk about that tonight.
Just vent, let it all out.
Just vent, whatever demons you got inside you, just let them fly.
I believe we'll probably put it up as like an episode on its own after the fact too, if you miss out.
Yeah, we'll be recording it. That's a good call out, because I think we got to make sure that that's set to be recorded as well. All right, so let's pivot to the Vic Hall presser. So Vic Hall spoke to the media yesterday in his not introductory press conference, but the introduction to the Rutgers community. Pretty short, 6 minutes. Alec, you were there. What'd you think of Vic Hall? First impressions?
He seems pretty comfortable being, talking to us, being on camera, things like that, which is good. He didn't say, too much like overly, I guess, noteworthy things. He said some of the things that we've heard from the program over the years, chopping your job, getting reps, things like that. I asked him, given that the safety room has some new guys like Elad, who we already talked about, you're losing 3 of your guys in Igbenogson, Loyal, and Dixon. What's how to grow with that group? He said that the biggest thing is get reps. Especially for a younger crop, younger in terms of Big Ten experience as well. So that was a big part of it. Just a lot of the basic stuff that we've heard, time and time again, chopping your job, staying in the present in every day and things like that. So nothing too, I guess the one noteworthy thing he said, he was asked about, I forget who asked the question, but he was asked about some of those guys that are younger and don't have the same Big Ten experience, the guys who are stepping up. He did mention Jesse Fury. So I guess he's someone to potentially look out for to play a role in the defensive back room after moving over from wide receiver.
You're on mute, Mike.
Were there any other players that he discussed that, in terms of standing out?
He mentioned he was asked about Kaj Sanders, and he said that getting that Big Ten experience was definitely a big help for him. And he's been he said a pro's pro about two different guys. I think he said that about Sanders, and he also said that about Jett Elad working through his case and all that. So it seems like he's excited for this room. There's definitely some talent there. Like I said, Kaj Sanders. Hopefully, if Jett Elad gets wins his case, and he'll be up there too. Maybe someone like Jesse Fury. Trying to think of, other guys. There's a lot of younger guys that don't have that same experience just yet, but that's what this time is for. So it seems like it could be an exciting room if all goes well.
Yeah, that sounds pretty exciting. Some players also spoke to the media. Who were they, and what did they say that interested you?
So yesterday was Jai Patel for one of them for the whole scrum for all the beat writers there, and it's always interesting when you're talking to a kicker because you don't really. I don't want to say you don't really think about it, but it's probably it's one of the more interesting positions where special teams is. If you ask Greg Schiano, you'd say it's one of the it's tied for the most important part of the field, but it's definitely one of the more important parts of the field, but not one that you would always think about first when you're thinking about a football team. So it's always interesting to go into the mind of a kicker because it's also one of those positions where it feels like it's a lot of mental stuff too. And he was good. He was good to talk to. He said, a lot of the same things that we've already talked about with a lot of other guys. Just taking it day by day, staying in the moment, keeping on getting better. He said that I think he mentioned Michael O'Connor as the main long snapper without Austin Riggs. He said that he snapped for him in 2023. I think it was him and Jake Eldridge shared long snapping duties, but Michael O'Connor's back now as well. So they work together already. He said he's done a great job, and just keeping on developing. Yeah, I was trying to think of like good questions to ask a kicker because again, it's like it's a really interesting position because you could have not much of a role in a game or you could have a huge role in a game.
Mm-hmm.
And Jai Patel was definitely one of those guys. He had a bit of a slower start to last year, but then he really picked it up as the season went on. I also think he got put in some tough situations where many would not have succeeded as much as he did, but he finished the year really strong. So I think he's in a good spot coming into next year. So it was good to hear from him. And then Jacoby Henderson, the transfer from Marshall, was the other player that I spoke to in the one-on-one part. He was definitely good to talk to. He said that one of the bigger draws was going somewhere where football, it was all football business, things like that, where you see that kind of stick out as for a lot of these transfers where they see what Rutgers has done under Greg Schiano. Obviously it's a long time ago in his 1.0, but also in 2.0 and sending guys to the NFL. I also asked him if the fact that Rutgers has sent a lot of guys to the NFL, particularly defensive backs, was a draw. And he said that, I think it was around the time he started going on his visit to Rutgers. He did some of his own research. He looked at some of the guys that they've sent to the NFL, and I think that was definitely a big part of it as well. I think probably going to try to get a story out on that at some point soon. So definitely be on the lookout for that as well. But yeah, both guys were good to talk to. So I would say a pretty successful Tuesday practice.
Love to hear that. It's kind of it. It's a bit of a shorter show today.
Yeah.
Like we said, the Twitter space will be tonight at 8 p.m. for basketball talk. I guess we could talk portal in general. Obviously, we have the three guys from Rutgers who have announced some crazy movement already across the college football landscape. How active do you anticipate Rutgers being in this spring portal, Richie?
So I'll actually even give you a little tidbit that I didn't even tell you guys yet because I forgot about it till now. Rutgers is looking for another defensive lineman.
Okay.
Potential guy, a New Jersey guy, someone you might have remembered or might not have. I believe he was at Hudson Catholic, if I recall. Nadami Tucker. I got to double check what high school he went to because I know he's from New York technically, but I believe he was at Hudson Catholic or somewhere in North Jersey. I forget exactly what high school. We'll take it back. That is not even close to Hudson Catholic. Teaneck, not even close. But he went to
far.
Well, yeah, he went to JUCO, and I remember him being like a New York, New Jersey guy. And he said that Rutgers is showing interest in him. He was down at Houston. where I think he was a 3-star prospect out of JUCO, went to Houston for a year, redshirted in 23, 22. Yeah, I mean, he's just a backup guy, more of a rotational piece, it sounds like. He's got 2 years of eligibility left, 6'3", 250. So I guess this would be more of like, hey, we'll bring him in now and get him ready for next year when we're losing guys across the line. So that it is interesting. I think they'll go after a defensive lineman. 6'3", 250 tells me he could probably pack on weight. He could technically move inside. I don't know if he will. Maybe keep him on the outside and just see what he can do. But he's got a lot of FBS interest, so that's something to note. I think they're going to be very strategic, and they're going to look for guys that can fill in not just gaps, like I said, not just gaps this year, but next year too. We do know that they did want another defensive tackle in the first window. They didn't end up getting that other defensive tackle. They wanted a third one to go along with Dingoe and Doug Blue Eli. So I could see them going that route again. Linebacker, we know they're they were very active in the first window as well. You want just more of it would probably be a 2-year guy. So that's kind of goes back to what I was saying, where it's like he could help us this year as a rotational piece, and then next year he could be our starter filling in when Mohamed Toure is gone. Or maybe not even be a starter, compete for the starting job specifically, I should say. And that's kind of what they've done with corner over the past couple of years. Like Jacoby Henderson is very similar to Eric Rodgers. They're trying to get 2-year corners or 2-year DBs that can come in, play a stopgap role, and then become the starter the year after. So it's going to be very interesting to see how much room they have too, because they have to get rid of 19 players still. So the more you add, the more you're going to have to get rid of. You might have to get rid of 25 players, and then you go add 4 more or 5 more, 6 more. That being said, I think they'll probably add 2 guys max. I should say 3 guys max, more likely 1 to 2 this portal window, just to kind of complete that roster and fill in some gaps.
Yeah, interesting. There have been a few guys with New Jersey ties who've entered the portal that might be interesting. AJ Pena, the former Somerville standout first team FCS All-American at Rhode Island, transferred down to Memphis. It sounds like he's left the program since he's been there for a few months. Were you able to get any clarity on if Rutgers would be interested in a guy like him?
Say it again. I'm sorry, I was typing someone.
No, it's okay. AJ Pena, I know he just re-entered the portal. I know you've been sending out some feelers as to if Rutgers would be interested there. He played at Somerville. Have you heard anything about him?
No, I haven't really heard much other than the fact that like he's going to be like a premier name kind of in this window, because this window is weird. Usually it's not a great window, but this go around with so many cuts and so many teams trying to spend as much as possible before this whole deal gets put into place. They're going to front load a lot of contracts, it sounds like, and just try to get as many guys signed as possible to build depth, because you're basically cutting, what was it? It was previously 90 or 95? I think it was 95 scholarships. Because now you can add 10 more scholarships.
85 scholarships.
85, Jesus, so it's even worse. So now you can go out and add 20 scholarship players while also cutting 20 walk-ons. So they're just trying to backload their rosters and just trying to make sure they have depth at every single position and as much as possible. So as much as this portal window usually sucks, it's kind of a little bit better than it usually is. And he's a guy that I think a lot of teams are going to be after. I don't know specifically who's going to go after him, but I'd kind of be a little shocked if he doesn't end up at a Power 4 school, just because he's extremely talented. I think he was first team All-American at Rhode Island. Mind you, Rhode Island's a big jump, but we've seen it in the past with like a Johnny Cornelius, offensive tackle, went to Oregon and was their starting right tackle all season long. So we'll wait and see, but I could see him being a guy that gets a lot of money. So I don't know if Rutgers would be heavily involved in another edge rusher, specifically one that has 1 year left and wants to start.
Yep, that makes a lot of sense. So stay tuned there. It sounds like Rutgers will be more involved in the portal than maybe we thought initially, but defensive line, keep an eye out there.
That tracks. Excuse me. Sorry, that tracks from the winter as well. We weren't sure how active they were going to be, and then obviously here we are now with a lot of portal activity. So, yeah, that about tracks. Another New Jersey, I guess, centric guy, Makai Bayor, I think is how you say his last name. originally from, I think he went to Irvington High School, I
Irvington,
believe.
yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. He was at Nebraska last year, transferred to Missouri. He entered the transfer portal in the spring window a couple days ago. He's headed to North Carolina. So,
Oh, he committed already?
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
Just came out according to our rivals transfer portal on Twitter.
Gotcha. Yeah, he's talented, man. He was going to start at Missouri, and then the guy that declared came back. So it's like, because that new JUCO rule or whatever. So yeah,
Head to Bill Belichick.
Yeah, good for him. Bill's got a nice little squad down there.
He does. He's certainly making some waves. But I think that's all we've got. See you guys later tonight for the Twitter space, and that pod will be out in your feed tomorrow morning. We encourage anybody who'd like to come on and talk to hop on and request. For anybody who hasn't done one before, it's basically just like an old school like call-in show, like radio style, where you have hosts and they take calls and you hang around and discuss some Rutgers hoops. So that will be at 8 p.m. tonight, Wednesday, April 16th. But we'll see you there. For me and the guys, Richie's got one more thing.
The NFL draft thing.
Oh, yes. So we also are still running that NFL draft contest for Rutgers players. Richie just put out an article today, which included Dane Brugler's 7-round mock. So he had 4 Rutgers guys getting drafted in his mock. So if you want to see what he had to say, the article is on the site. But so it's a contest where you basically just pick where you think Rutgers players are going to get drafted, who they're going to get drafted by, and in what round. The person with the highest score in our scoring system after the draft will get a free jersey of their choice of a Rutgers draftee. So, and also the second and third prize. I think the second prize is a 6-month TKR subscription and a Trapezoid of Terror shirt.
It's your choice, whatever you want.
Your choice,
t-shirt wise.
Yep, your choice of t-shirts from Night and Day Apparel, and third place is just a 6-month TKR subscription. So free stuff and a fun little contest to make the NFL draft a little more interesting, especially on day 3 when things can get pretty slow. We'll all be at the spring game, so we'll be tracking that as it happens. Yeah, it is Saturday. Yep.
It's next Saturday, but
yeah. I meant. I don't like that they always put it on the draft day. It kind of annoys me because I'm trying to watch.
It is kind of cool, the collective response from the crowd, though, when guys get drafted.
True.
I do like that.
And there'll be a couple, so potentially, or should be.
I think the majority of Rutgers draftees will be that day. So
maybe at halftime they'll show the draft on the big screen or something.
That'd be cool.
Do.
That's a great idea. They should,
or maybe during the game.
They should pipe it in during the game whenever they get drafted, have a little custom graphic. Mm-hmm. That would be. I don't know if anyone who's in the Rutgers event space actually can get on that, but I think that would be a huge winner to just not stop the game, just to have it display. I mean, spring games are supposed to be kind of goofy and campy to begin with, so just do something that'll actually
make it fun,
create some buzz. Yeah. All right, well, that's all we got. Thanks once again for listening. For me, for Richie, for Alec, this has been another edition of the Night Report podcast. Signing off.